it's Bouncy here. Honk honk, it's your clown teacher Bouncy here, and I'm here to talk about Circus World, which was a circus-themed theme park that opened in 1974 and unfortunately only made it until 1986. This place had an amazing big top that fit like 1,000 people under its arena. Actually, it was originally supposed to be Barnum and Bailey's winter headquarters, as well as have a clown college and museum located there. But it changed owners so many times, and each owner had a different idea of what they wanted to do with this park. Which unfortunately was its downfall, because it really lost the competition to Disney World, and Disney World was sort of the place people wanted to go when they went to Florida, not to see some clowns. But man oh man did this place have a lot of circus-related things to enjoy. Elephant performers, flaming high divers, flaming eaters, live tigers, equestrians, acrobats, clowns, and live bands. There was also an outdoor rodeo area with rodeo clowns, polar bear shows, and the wonderful world of clowns. They had a show called Be a Clown, where you could pretend to join the circus as a clown, get your face painted there, and feel like you were part of the wackiness. They wanted you to feel like you were a kid running away to the circus, and you were joining them as well. So you would see people at the park in clown makeup. Pretty fun. I actually absolutely love how when you came to this park, they made you feel like you were one of them. There were clowns everywhere, and although they had a lot of different theme park attractions like the Zoomerang and the Hurricane, you would see people like dressed in clown makeup just on the carousel or walking around being silly. What a wonderful piece of clown history, you know? I wish we had a place like this now so I could go and clown around. But thanks everyone for learning about Circus World. Honk honk, it's Bouncy here, and I'm here to talk about the Clown Code of Ethics and why it exists and who uses it. I will let the Clown Code play behind me as I explain into a little bit of further detail. So there are a lot of different organizations that clowns can pay to join to get access to different resources and information, as well as things like insurance. Clowns need insurance because most of them are freelance and they're performers and accidents happen. But these clown organizations want to uphold the good name of clowning, and they want to make sure that if you're a member with them receiving insurance that you're not doing anything bad, because you're probably working with the public, like at a birthday party or with a sick child. Most of these rules basically want you to keep your clown persona completely separate from your regular self. So they don't want you to be seen taking off your makeup and drinking a beer after you're at a party for a child. Or they want to make sure that as you're in clown makeup, you're not sexually harassing anyone or hurting anyone's feelings, that you're always making yourself the butt of the joke and not others. Like, you know that joke that's like, oh, I've never seen those two in the same room? That's basically how you should be with your clown persona. It's kind of funny. So your clown persona should really exist separate from yourself in a way. People shouldn't see you taking off your clown costume and then doing silly stuff, or taking off your makeup. It breaks the illusion. Sort of like at Disneyland, you don't see somebody take off the Mickey Mouse costume and then say, "Hi, it's me, Fred." A lot of these clown organizations also offer access to other services, like the Clowns International offers Clown International Egg Registry. It's a place where you can get your clown egg, and a clown egg is a way to copyright your clown makeup. Clown makeup is important because it's unique to each clown, and stealing another clown's makeup or look is actually pretty taboo in clown culture. These clown organizations also offer other resources like conventions and meetups, and even places to exchange clothing and tips and tricks. So all of this is just to help the good name of clowning and make sure that clowns behave and are respectable citizens. Also, you don't have to follow these rules to a T, but just be decent, really. It's pretty easy. Honk honk, it's your clown teacher Bouncy here. Today we're going to talk about a type of performer you've probably heard of before, the infamous Harley Quinn. The Harley Quinn's name actually comes from popular French passion plays. These demons and devils that were in these plays were referred to in old French terms. They wore hooded outfits with red and black masks and had prank-like antics, which eventually evolved into some of the characteristics of the Harley Quinn that we know today. The Harley Quinn as we know them is a character from Commedia dell'arte, where actors are given character roles with archetypes and improvise the rest. This character was popularized by Italian actor Tristano Martinelli in 1584, the first actor to be known as Harley Quinn or Harlequin. Martinelli's Harley Quinn wore a linen costume with colorful patches, a black leather mask, and a hair toe on his cap to indicate he was cowardly. He also had a mustache and a long beard. In the theater, a Harley Quinn is also what is known as a Zanni. A Zanni is a trickster servant to the nobles. It is said that much like Pinocchio, the longer the nose and chin on the mask of the Zanni, the more mischievous he was. So Tristano took this role and shaped it even further into the well-known Harley Quinn we know today, as after his death, the Harley Quinn became a stock character in Commedia dell'arte, instead of just being referred to as a Zanni. The personality of the Harley Quinn is a trickster with devilish features. He is often seen in competition with the sad Piero for the love interest they both share, Colombina. But ultimately he is actually a romantic hero, outwitting the Piero for the love of Colombina and tricking his master. In the 17th century, the role of the Harley Quinn inspired a new type of theater in England called Harlequinade. It was a British type of theater that focused on pantomime and slapstick comedy. It was the English version of Commedia dell'arte, and often paired the Harley Quinn with the character clown. Most notably, these two roles were portrayed by the Payne brothers. The character clown in the Harlequinade dynamic was brutish and mischievous, while the Harley Quinn was more smart and even romantic. Does that sound like the inspiration of anyone that you can think of? Well, I hope today that you've learned a little bit about the role of the Harley Quinn, and keep a lookout for Arlecchino in Genshin Impact. Yes, that is a Harley Quinn reference. And shoutouts to the Harley Quinns in Warhammer too. Goodbye, and thanks for listening to this clown history. Honk honk, it's Bouncy here to talk to you about something pretty heavily requested. Jesters. Jesters, also known as fools or jokers, were employed by a monarch starting in the 14th century to entertain and tell jokes. They played a small role in the courts and also livened up events. Medieval jesters held a lot of responsibility to entertain their monarch. They were often very skilled at singing and music, storytelling, acrobatics, and even juggling and telling jokes. Imagine being at a party and a jester just starts singing a live diss track about you for everyone to hear. Well, you'd have to hold the L because jesters had a freedom of speech known as jester's privilege. This meant that they were one of the few in the court who could speak their mind freely and use humor to joke about those above them. They were also able to give bad news to the king that most others were afraid to do. Most jesters were very smart and well educated, but they came from diverse backgrounds. Although they had more freedom than most, they still could get whipped at any excessive behavior, but it was in their nature to speak their mind freely. They were rarely ever able to pose any sort of threat to the power of those above them, so their comments and jokes were not taken seriously. Their clothing was often tight and colorful, usually with different colored legs. Their heads were often shaved and covered with a piece of cloth. Originally, their hats were actually supposed to resemble the tails and ears of the donkey, and were worn by some of the first medieval jesters. But over time, their hat became the stereotypical three-pointed hat we know today. Their cap also often had bells, and they held a scepter, which was to imitate the royal crown and scepter held by a monarch. Basically, they were doing a cosplay of the king and absolutely killing it with the hilarious impressions. And the king was like, hell yeah, isn't this little guy who pretends to be me like hella chill? But also, he kinda says some deep shit that makes me think about things differently. So yeah, that was the power of the jester. I'm often asked if jesters are clowns, and the answer is basically yes. A clown is an entertainer that uses a persona to entertain others, and that's pretty much what a jester did. But the main difference is that jesters held a very unique type of power amongst regular people, and that was the power of the freedom of speech. They were able to speak their minds. So thanks for learning about them. Honk honk, Bouncy here, and today we're gonna get spooky and honestly a little sad as we learn about some clown history and some clown ghost stories all in one. Today we're going to be talking about the Hammond Circus train wreck and Showman's Rest. June 22, 1918, one of the worst ever recorded railroad disasters happened to some kind performers. It was early in the morning around 4 a.m. when a train full of Hagen-Beck-Wallace circus performers were switching tracks. Half of the train was in the middle of moving to another track, when suddenly a troop train came rushing in at 30 miles an hour and never stopping. The engineer was said to have fallen asleep. When the crash happened, locals said it was so loud that they thought a nearby steel mill had blown up. To add to the horrors of this wreck, those who were not killed on impact were trapped. Many people were trapped under the wood of the train debris, but to make things worse, kerosene lanterns that had been used to light the coaches caused a huge fire, burning the remaining performers alive. In total, between 56 to 61 estimated performers of the circus were lost that day, from clowns to circus strongmen and even the families of clowns. The engineer who was in charge of the train was charged with manslaughter, but after a mistrial the charges were dropped. Oddly enough, shortly before this tragedy occurred, the Showmen's League of America bought land at the Woodlawn Cemetery. They believed performers should be buried together with dignity. Unfortunately, they did not plan on having to bury so many performers so close together and so soon. You can visit Showman's Rest in Woodlawn Cemetery in Forest Park, Illinois, and circus performers who passed away in this fateful accident. You can also visit circus performers who didn't pass away in this accident, as circus performers are still being buried in Showman's Rest. There is also a yearly memorial service held here every year for this tragedy. Unfortunately, during the tragedy, there are many unmarked graves, but there is some graves marked Baldy and even Smiley. No elephants died in the wreck, but Showman's Rest is marked by 5 elephant statues with their trunks lowered, which is a symbol that they are forever in mourning of those who died 100 years ago. Many have reported that they hear elephant noises in Showman's Rest at night, at first attributing these noises to a local zoo. However, it was soon realized that the zoo nearby had never had any elephants on its grounds. Some say the ghostly elephant noises are remnants of a circus that never was, sounds of a performance that could have never been performed. Maybe it is true that somewhere in the afterlife, these kind souls are having some kind of circus, all together, all for one, for a final time. Although we see clowns as funny men and women and circuses as a place of entertainment and laughter, we often forget that performers are hardworking and normal people who live a normal life with people who love them. And if you're ever in the area, please visit Showman's Rest and pay these performers some respect. Honk honk, Bouncy here, and today I'm combining some ghost stories and clown history, and we're going to be talking about Circus Circus. Circus Circus is a casino that opened October 18, 1968, and added a hotel in 1972. It is located on the Las Vegas Strip and is the largest permanent circus in the world. It has trapeze acts and a carnival midway. Circus Circus includes an amusement park known as the Adventure Dome. Although it's circus-themed, Circus Circus was originally designed for adults. The casino had cocktail waitresses dressed in sexy majorette outfits, go-go dancers, and blackjack dealers in polka dot shirts. There was even a slide for drunk gamblers to make their way down to the casino floor. Although the original intention was to appeal to adults, it became very popular and iconic with families as it offered entertainment for both the young and old. It is also no secret that Circus Circus was involved with the mob. The movie Casino is based off of Circus Circus. Anthony John Spilotro, nicknamed Tony the Ant, was an infamous American mobster and the real-life inspiration for Nicky Santoro, played by Joe Pesci in the '95 Scorsese film. He was the leader of the Hole-in-the-Wall gang and was put in charge of the casino's gift shop as a cover for his illegal businesses. In reality, he was managing the outfit's casino profits for both Circus Circus and other mafia-owned casinos, as well as pulling off numerous robberies and contracted assassinations. Tony was also rumored to be responsible for dozens of brutal mob hits in the area, including throwing people out of hotel windows. But he would eventually get greedy and overstep his boundaries, leading to his own gruesome murder on June 14, 1986. Many of the ghosts that are said to linger in Circus Circus are victims of the mafia. There has never been a final count of the murders that Tony was responsible for. However, it is widely believed that a great deal of them took place in and around Circus Circus. A faceless amount of victims who met their end with no justice, wandering forever in the walls of a circus-themed hotel. and the reported paranormal activity has been rising here ever since, as the ghost stories really don't stop there. In room 123, a mother and her young son were found dead from an apparent murder-suicide. How true this is I can't confirm, but it's a widely told urban legend. Staff reports they hear a child pleading for help and read "help me" on bathroom mirrors. It's also reported they've seen two apparitions hand in hand, a mother holding the hand of her son in hallways. They also see a child crying and wandering alone on the first floor. Some have even gotten a chance to interact with these two, and they always ask for a man named Robert. In 2018, the latest reported murders happened here. A couple from Vietnam were brutally stabbed and robbed. A deeply sad and upsetting crime to happen to two tourists. Unfortunately, although there's paranormal activity all over Las Vegas, the very frustrating and real threat aren't ghosts, but crime and violence. I guess you could say that Circus Circus is an actual real-life haunted carnival. And although it's a beloved iconic staple of Las Vegas, it carries with it a haunted history through its halls. Although there are clowns smiling and people laughing, something will always seem to echo, a giggle or a whisper in an empty hotel room, a heavy feeling lingering in cotton candy hallways. One thing is for certain is that smoke settles heavier in Circus Circus. So if you want to go looking for a mixture of the whimsical and terrifying, the deeply sad and clowny, you might want to check into Circus Circus. But just remember, you can check out anytime you want, but you may never leave. That is, of course, unless you yourself wanted to be a member of the world's largest permanent circus. With that being said, I'm signing out. Bye! Honk honk, it's Bouncy here, and did you know there's a clown church service? Well, since 1946, there has been a memorial service for Joseph Grimaldi in East London at All Saints Church. Joseph Grimaldi was one of the world's first famous white-faced clowns and considered the father of modern-day clowning. He propelled clowning from pantomime and Harley Quinn to its own unique form of artistry, and many clowns still take inspiration from his white-faced clown makeup. He's also where we get the character of the Joey, and his style of comedy was known to satirize British life and, at the time, even poke fun at current fashions.
We're honoring him here at Holy Trinity in Dalston.
During the service, clowns parade down the aisles, blow bubbles, and have all-around fun and silly antics while also doing a clown show. But this isn't the only way that folks honor Grimaldi. They also visit his grave at Joseph Grimaldi Park, where his resting site encourages you to dance on musical tiles. The tiles actually play Hot Codlins, which was a song popularized by Grimaldi. This was added to the park in 2010 by an artist named Henry. Clowns show up here to honor Grimaldi in full face paint, fun outfits, and all kinds of just silly, wacky fun. It's a really great way to honor such an amazing clown.
Clowning has a very deep meaning. I've been doing it 35 years. And it's really lovely to be able to make people laugh.
Did you know that in the 1941 film Dumbo, the clowns that we see in the movie were actually drawn to mock the animators who were on strike? These clowns were drawn as caricatures of animators who were picketing at the time and using their skills to draw clever signs as they demanded fair pay from Walt Disney. Although the strike was eventually resolved, the aftermath of Disney's poor choices and unfair treatment of his workers lost him many good animators who went on to work for rival studios like Terry Toons, MGM, Warner Brothers, and even Fleischer Studios. The clowns seen in Dumbo were drawn by animators who did not strike, and Disney had them add in a scene where they were asking for a raise as a jab at the animators. It makes these clowns a time capsule of what was happening behind the scenes and really highlighted the unfair treatment of the animators. For a deeper dive into this story and my theory on its connection to a small scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, please check out my YouTube video if you're interested in that sort of thing. And if you want to, of course. The link will be in the comments section. Thanks for learning about some interesting clown history.